Wrestling has more than one royal family.
Hey everybody, Mr. the Fanboy here, back for another video, and this time, this is my salute, praise, and return to the TNA wrestling videos. My last video was a video of me ranting on TNA, supposedly on Billy Corgan supposedly making a deal with Mr. McMahon to acquire the TNA library, and I've defended TNA on so many things, but that was the final straw with this company. When it was announced that Billy Corgan had met with Vince McMahon to allow him to acquire the TNA library, that was the last straw I had. I could defend and forgive every other bad thing TNA has done in its 14-year existence. But that right there was the final straw. But I did promise in the video that I may return in the future, because prior to hearing that news, TNA was freaking awesome. TNA from 2014 ongoing has been awesome, has probably been the best professional wrestling product on TV, and a lot of my favorite wrestlers right now currently are now featured in TNA. So I promised that. So I did say that I may return in the future. Then of course later on, hearing that those rumors of Billy Corgan meeting with WWE and WWE acquiring the TNA's library, hearing rumors of that was untrue. I was watching one of the wrestling, I think the Wrestling Inc.'s reviews. I think that's what they call it. And Vince Russo and now Matt Morgan are frequent guests on that wrestling podcast, and they know people said it was crap because WWE would not allow TNA to continue running if they acquired anything from TNA. And then of course the later news, hearing about Billy Corgan's lawsuit with TNA, all this drama proves that that wasn't true. It never happened. They never met with TNA. So now I'm back to supporting TNA. I'm still not a fan of TNA. I'm still not a fan of TNA. They've done too many bad things for me to be a fan, but I am a huge supporter of TNA, and I consider them right now, they're the best. They're probably the best pro wrestling product out there. They're probably the only product right now currently that actually has me engaged in the storylines. With every other company, it's the feuds and the wrestling and the wrestlers and the wrestling drawing me to their shows or programs with every other promotions I've watched. But TNA is one of the only ones with the in-depth storyline. This whole delete thing with Matt Hardy and them with their storylines, the only one drawing me to their shows. And like I said, I finally finished Bound for Glory. Like I said, I was gonna review Bound for Glory at the beginning of October when it aired, but like I said, then I read that message with Vince McMahon acquiring the TNA talent, acquiring the TNA library. And let me tell you, people, I do not want Dixie or anyone selling anything to Vince McMahon, especially the TNA library. See, if that happens, number one, Vince McMahon, if he were to acquire the TNA library, since he owns all the TNA stuff, that means all the TNA stuff that you see on YouTube, all the classic matches, all the um all the classic matches and shows, he'll go on and flag it like he does with the WCW, ECW, and WWE footage. He Another thing is when it comes to footage of other companies like WCW and ECW, he makes garbage, best of, and crappy, watered down DVDs instead of giving us pay-per-views and let's say season reviews of Nitros, giving us crappy DVDs like the Best of Nitro, that god awful Rise and Fall of WCW DVD, the god awful Monday Night Wars DVD from the 2000, back when WWE DVDs were actually good. So instead of giving us pay-per-views, no, he puts all that stuff on his garbage network, which nobody wants to buy. Who wants to watch WWE 24/7 in digital YouTube YouTube video service streaming service age? Who wants to watch that much wrestling? No, all this stuff was fine on YouTube, and yeah, you own the rights, and illegally uploading it is, yeah, you can claim a copyright, but uploading all the WCW stuff is which it doesn't harm you because you it doesn't take money out of your pocket, but of course you did that because, like I said, the products from yesteryear, they make your product look inferior, and that's why you go on there and flag everything when you don't have to. Yeah, it's violating copyrights, but you don't. It ain't like you sell this stuff on DVD or Blu-ray or anyway. So, what's the problem with what's the name? And that's why I do not want that with TNA. Whenever I want to watch WCW, ECW, all this stuff, I have to go to I have to go to other websites. I have to go to other websites. You have to go you have to go out your way to watch other pay-per-view, to watch classic um wrestling because he owns it. He owns it all, and that's why I do not want I do not want him owning the TNA library. If you wanted to use especially to feature AJ, you don't need the library to do that. You can just mention it. You don't have to actually show footage of it. When Brock Lesnar was in the UFC, they showed footage of his New Japan days while talking about his WWE days. But they didn't show his WWE days. They showed his New Japan. They showed his brief New Japan days. Next was my favorite DVD, the Eddie Guerrero DVD. They showed what looked like footage of an indie show, but they didn't mention the indie show by name, which of course the indie show I think was Ring of Honor and that East Coast Championship Wrestling, that ECCW promotion. I think that's the two promotions. That's the two promotions I remember Eddie Guerrero wrestling for. But they didn't say any of those promotions by name, and they only showed brief footage of them. Same with the he also wrestled for several of the Lucha Libre promotions. They didn't mention any of those promotions by name, so you do not need the TNA's library that features AJ Styles' time from TNA, and so yeah, and I think most of the people who watch WWE now knew AJ Styles was in TNA. So like I said, stupid. That's why I don't. And of course, the revolution is history. The constant altering of history. Like I said, that rise and fall of WCW DVD. That was one of the worst DVDs I've ever watched, man. That was one of the worst DVDs I've ever watched. And I do not want no revolutionist history of TNA. So that's why I don't want any form of TNA being sold to Vince McMahon. That's why I'm happy. I was initially on board. Yeah, before I get into TNA's product, let's get into the Dixie, Billy Corgan lawsuit controversy. I was initially on board with Billy Corgan taking ownership of TNA. At first I was hesitant because, like I said, the reason I don't want Dixie out of power is because Dixie promised she would never sell to Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon, she would rather die with the company than sell to Vince McMahon. I wish WCW, actually ECW did do that, but Vince McMahon found a way to acquire that. But he bought WCW dirt cheap, and Bischoff let him because Bischoff felt that WCW would continue on would live on with WWE, but no, WWE just bought it so they can get the library, so they want to eliminate their competition and get the library, and then of course bury everything and just bury everything about that company and only use it occasionally just as a plug-in for your stupid network and to get some desperately needed cash. That's why I like TNA. That's just one reason I support TNA. TNA is nowhere near as good as WCW was, but it's pretty much what is left of WCW's real legacy, not those garbage revolutionist history of WWE constantly trying to make WCW look terrible. Constantly trying to make WCW look terrible. They were the last of what they my opinion, of what's left of WCW's legacy. That's one reason I support them so much, despite not being that good in comparison to WCW. So that's one reason I was hesitant. But then I was supporting when I saw his ideas. First of all, okay, I didn't like the idea of a name change, but maybe a name change would have done this company good. Of course, his Hardy Boys movie, which TNA needs to do more stuff like that. They need more video games. They need more video games like this. TNA Impact. They need more video games, and of course they need a movie. I remember WCW had that. It has a cult follow. It was critically panned when it came out, but it has a huge cult following. I remember how awesome it was, the Ready to Rumble movie starring David Arquette. How awesome that was. TNA needs something like that to get their names out there in the mainstream. So so yeah, I was niche. Then of course bringing CM Punk. He had plans to try to bring CM Punk back to professional wrestling. So I was all on board. That was until I heard. That's until I saw that breaking is where it announced that Billy Corgan met with Vince McMahon to acquire for WWE to acquire the TNA library, and that's when I said no, Billy Corgan. That's when I said no, Billy Corgan's got to be gone, and now I hate him even more. Now and really don't want him in power with TNA because you really look, he's worser than Dixie ever was. Come to think of it, if it wasn't for Dixie, TNA wouldn't even be around now. They would have suffered the same fate as my other favorite wrestling promotion, the first one to try it, the Australian promotion, World Wrestling All Stars, WWA. They would have suffered the same fate as that. That was an even bigger show. That was an even bigger show than TNA. But lack of support and lack of funds led to that promotion closing down just after a mere 2 to 3 years. A mere 2 to 3 years led to that promotion closing down. So yeah, Dixie Carter. So yeah, if it wasn't for Dixie Carter and Panda Energy, TNA wouldn't be here today. TNA wouldn't be here 14 years later. And then of course Billy Corgan. The promotion he owned, Resistance. I think it's called Resistance Pro Wrestling, RPW, Resistance Pro Wrestling. He left when things got bad. He left that promotion, and he also did something with his band. So a guy like that I do not want in TNA. I do not want in TNA, and I don't trust him. Especially, I also heard that he doesn't follow Dixie on Twitter, but I heard that he follows Vince McMahon and Stephanie McMahon on Twitter. So yes, I do not want a guy like that owning TNA. Then all these lawsuits. This guy is mad because I think he took some of his money to help fund TNA because he was sure Dixie was going to give the company to him. then when Dixie saw what he was trying to pull, Dixie decided no. And so now, y'all, he tries to sue to get his money back. You have the company that I keep forgetting what the company is called, but the company that stepped up to buy TNA and cover all of TNA's expenses and all these other various lawsuits TNA has. Oh no, he tries to back out and says, I'm not accepting that money. He trying to get ownership of the company. Dixie has so far won round one of this lawsuit, but TNA is not out of the woods yet. There will be more. Apparently, there will be more lawsuits from Billy Corgan. Billy. Corgan. So this is why I do not want Billy Corgan in this is why I do not want Billy Corgan owning TNA. I was initially looking forward to his ideas, but I don't trust him, and I don't want that guy nowhere near TNA, especially after this guy just being a it's just being a freaking baby. And this is why, like I said, this is why I wanted no one. Years ago when they wanted him to come to TNA, Paul Heyman wanted full control of TNA. Yeah, right. I want Paul Heyman. I wanted him on the creative. But I do not want him running a company. No, you're not running TNA into the ground like you did ECW. Paul Heyman, genius promoter, but a horrible businessman. Like I said, ECW, those guys weren't being paid. See, I do not want that guy controlling TNA, and that's why I don't want anyone else other than Dixie controlling TNA. Yeah, she's not the best wrestling mind, so get someone in creative who actually is. But yeah, that's all that controversy. But pretty much hearing that the whole WWE acquiring TNA's library was all that was just a rumor that never took place, which Billy Corgan claims the meeting with Vince and them never took place. So all of that brought me back on the TNA, and it's been freaking awesome. As always, I watched the Halloween, I finally finished watching Bound for Glory, which was awesome, which I'm going to be reviewing and talking about in my year in review of TNA and wrestling. Bound for Glory, awesome show, man. An awesome show. Awesome matches, top of the card, especially the two matches that stick out the most in my mind, of course, are the three matches actually. That's the Matt Hart the Hardy Boys versus the Decay street fight with I think his name is Ichwi, the crazy guy with the shades coming out of nowhere just randomly talking. That was the most bizarre and coolest street fight I've ever seen, man. Then you had the pay-per-view debut of Moose taking on Mike Bennett in a awesome quick squash-like match. But before that, Moose's awesome entrance with his entire football team with their gear on. Imagine how cool that would be if it was in a big arena. My only disappointment with Bound for Glory and Slammiversary this year, they didn't go to a big venue like they did like they did for Bound for Glory last year. But like I said, they were in danger of closing down. I think Billy Corgan secretly funded the pay-per-view. So yeah, but it was an awesome pay-per-view, and of course the epic main event between Bobby Lashley and EC3. This was a war, man. This was a war. Like I said, awesome show, awesome matches from top to bottom, man. And Gail Kim's Hall of Fame induction and bringing out previous wrestlers from her past, that and her father, all that was just awesome. And then the impacts after that, then the most recent Halloween episode with the Hardy Boys hosting a Halloween party with kids trick-or-treating. Hurricane there showed up with his Gregory Helms showed up with his Hurricane outfit. Ichwi was there too, which was hilarious. And then of course what else? Oh yeah, then of course you had the Team X Gold stuff. I really don't care much for, but I'm just happy because the team features Zima Ion, who I love in the Zima Ion character. He's gone from being the goofy bromance guy and the hairspray guy, his first gimmick, to being the face of TNA's X Division, to being the face of TNA's X Division. Happy Mandrews is getting TV time, and of course Braxton Stutter, who I'm a huge fan of after seeing him on a Canadian independent wrestling show called Crossfire Wrestling before his eventual TNA debut, and was enjoying his feud with Spud, and I love Spud's character, and I love how he brought out Decay and Retaliation for Zemaya, not including him in his Team X Gold team. And Rockstar Spud has been awesome as the huge aggressive heel with a Napoleon complex with a chip on his shoulder. Love the new Rock Spud, and love Rock Spud's promos. Then of course you had Grotto wanting to be a bromance. This right here was along with Inchweed segments and the trick-or-treating segments, this right here was hilarious when Grotto came out dancing with the oil, dressed as a bromance. That right there, that was hilarious. I was laughing, man. I was laughing. That was the funniest thing I've seen. I love Grotto. The guy can wrestle, and the guy is hilariously entertaining. Grotto is what is missing in professional wrestling today. I'm talking to you, WWE. Yeah, then of course they were attacked by this new stable called the DCC, which two of the members are independent wrestler Eddie Kingston and of course Bram. I wonder who the third guy is. I'm wondering if it's Aiden O'Shea. I'm wondering who the third guy is. But them attacking and they attacked Tribunal and the Hardys last week, yeah, and then of course Eli Drake becoming one of the best heels. And of course Aaron Rags, I'm kind of disappointed they turned him heel so quickly. But enjoying his character and image. And I'm right now enjoying his feud with Jesse Goddard, which started with Aaron Drax cheating to retain his what's the championship called again? The Grand Slam Championship, something like that. I keep forgetting what it was called, but yeah, sorry about all the scratching. Itchy dog had fleas, and I've seemingly got him. But yeah. So yeah. So yeah, awesome. So yeah, then of course, oh yes, also at Bound for Glory, the epic, badass debut of Cody Rhodes with the Downstate song Kingdom, which he uses on the independent circuit. Downstate, who of course I love this band. They sing Alex Riley's "Say It to My Face" theme, Dolph Ziggler's "Perfection" theme, and the second one, the show off theme, and of course Miz's "I've Come to Play," theme. And now they sing Kingdom, and it started with um the Miracle Mike Bennett trying to hijack Bound for Glory. Then Cody Rhodes came out there. With his new music and unloaded on what's his name with Brandy Rhodes, unloading on Maria and starting a feud between the two. Then of course last week's Impact, Cody Rhodes made his I think Impact match debut, wrestling in the main event against Fast Eddie Edwards, who dethroned Lashley the previous week for the TNA heavyweight champion. Love how TNA pushes the small wrestler, something WWE couldn't do. They're doing it now. With lame AJ Styles. They're doing it now, but I wanted to do that with CM Punk, Daniel Bryan, and even years ago with Benoit Guerrero. So happy that TNA is doing that. And Cody Rhodes and Eddie Owens, awesome competitive match, man. And then this week Cody Rhodes and Brandy took on Maria last week. Took on Maria and Mike Bennett in an awesome match. However, Brandy Rhodes needs to work on her submission skills. That submission move she put on Maria in the match, it was terrible. It was terrible. Yeah. Also loving the knockout stuff with Ali, Sienna, and Maria. That stuff is pretty good too. So TNA is awesome. TNA is the best professional wrestling product on TV. Like I said, no other wrestling product that I come to mind draws me in with its story. Every other wrestling show I watch draw me in with their wrestling and their wrestlers. With their wrestling and their wrestlers. This is the only one to draw me in with everything. The story, the storylines, the wrestling, and of course the storylines, and of course the characters, and of course the wrestling. And it's the best wrestling on TV, and that's why I'm back to being not a TNA fan, but I'm a huge fan. I'm a huge supporter of TNA. I'm a huge fan of WCW, and I'm a huge fan of the style performed by promotions like WCW, the territories of the past, and of course modern promotions like the National Wrestling Alliance promotions. I love the wrestling style, the fast-paced, exciting action with a strong emphasis on kayfabe and characters. That's the style WCW and the territory promotions promoted, and that's the style TNA features. And I think TNA for mainstream wrestling deserves to represent mainstream wrestling. This will never happen, but I want WWE. I want WWE dead. I want WWE dead. I want all of their money, just all of their good wrestlers, a lot of their good wrestlers like Dolph Ziggler or in Sami Zayn, all those guys. I want them in TNA. I want them in TNA. I want them in TNA. I want all their money, their Susan, their breast cancer, their Make-A-Wish, all that goes to TNA. TNA deserves all of that and deserves to be the #1 promotion and deserves to represent mainstream professional wrestling. Another burial of WWE is coming in the next video. But like I said, this was TNA, and TNA was so awesome. So awesome, man. You saw me coming out to the bringing back the theme music, which I got rid of a long time ago. Bringing back the theme music for several of my videos now. You saw me use that Kingdom song as my video. Like I said, this was my salute and praise and return to TNA. All right, I'm done. All right, I'm done. I'm ready now. Tear this roof up all the town. Gonna give them what they came to see.